30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and young guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on a beautiful Thursday in Nashville, Tennessee. Temperature up in the high 70s, maybe even the low 80s. It's just a good time of the year as we say hello from our beautiful new digs at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue, which right now is playing host to a Team USA group of officials. Hockey officials, hockey referees, learning their craft, improving their craft. We may try to get one of them on tomorrow, find out what it is they may be learning. Let's check in right off the bat with Kelly Holcomb. He's in Murfreesboro. Watson Brown hopefully will rejoin us sometime in July, although in fairness, he doesn't root for me any more than Kelly does in the Plaster's bet of the day. Now, Kelly, let's make one thing straight here. Last night, you shook your head like that when I said Miami Heat.
Wow. I mean, I just watched that game. Wow.
I was shocked.
I was too. Like, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but like the mistakes that they made, like Jason Tatum himself made 3 really bad plays in the situational game of basketball when you have to be good, and he didn't do it, man. It was quite shocking. And Miami, just like Reggie Miller kept saying, their offense goes through Jimmy Butler, whether he's shooting or scoring. It's amazing. Like, he's driving and dishing. He's getting the ball to people that can score. That Adebayo kid, he's really, really good. He's one of these centers that he leads a fast break like Jokic. It's unbelievable what these guys can do. So that makes me just really wonder what this number 1 pick is going to do when he gets at 7'5". They said he can handle the ball like a point guard and shoot the lights out. So it's going to be interesting to see this kid play.
So for the record, this has opened up a new can of worms. Miami with playoff Jimmy leads this series 1-0. Now, Kelly, let's get to Billy Derrick for a moment. As you know, Billy, with an excused absence yesterday to go see his beloved Father Ryan Fighting Irish. I would assume that inspired the young men to bigger and better, greater things. Billy, what did it do?
They lost, George. My presence was not enough for the Irish yesterday. Right. Not enough luck of the Irish.
Who did they lose to?
They lost to Macaulay.
Okay, so let's compare for a moment here. Father Ryan, one of its star alums is you.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Macaulay, one of their star alums, former Atlanta Braves owner Ted Turner. Ted Turner, Billy Derrick.
I think we know who wins that.
Yeah.
All Macaulay has to do is call Mr. Turner and say, hey, we need a bunch of money to they say their facilities are unbelievable. I got a really good friend that I was teammates with in college. He's one of their coaches. He was actually there yesterday. He helps coach baseball. He's a football guy, but he said their meeting rooms and everything and anytime they need any money, all they got to do is call him. I'm not sure that the Father Ryan guys are calling Billy for money.
No.
Has the Irish Pride Club ever received a donation from you?
Not yet, George. I don't think I'm old enough yet.
No, there's not an age.
There's not an age on that, Billy.
So they will take your money at any point. What you're saying is they have asked and you have said no.
I don't think they've asked. I think they're waiting on the donation, and it hasn't come yet.
They're waiting on your raise from the George Plaster show, which probably is not coming in a couple of.
They're waiting.
If we're on the air in a couple of years, it may be coming. I'm not sure.
So, Billy, you also did not believe in me and were totally convinced earlier today that I had taken Boston.
I thought you had taken Boston, and we were going to come on and rip you today. I was excited for it, but I was impressed you were able to take the Heat last night.
Now let me say this, George. I mean, I did say that was a good pick for you yesterday because I thought the Celtics would win, but I didn't think they would beat them by 8 points, it was a +8, right?
But I did see you shake your head.
I did because I was like, I didn't think that my shaking my head was because I didn't think that they could beat Boston, but boy, they did.
No, they did. They in the second half, they pummeled the Celtics.
Pummeled them. It was amazing.
Begs the question: were they ready last night? Supposedly, Al Horford had gotten on them in practice a day or two before that. I get the fact that there was going to be a little bit of a letdown off of the high of winning Game 7 against Philly. But hey, Jimmy Butler is a stud, and they better start to realize that if they're moving on.
The Miami Heat are ready to play, and they're hitting their stride at the right time of the season. They've, under all these odds that everybody's talking about, I mean, they beat the number 1 seed. They're playing really good. And that's all you can ask for. You ask for a chance when you get in the playoffs. And right now they're using that chance that they got in the play-in games and then beating the Milwaukee Bucks. And they were just better than the New York Knicks. But hey, they're a team to be reckoned with right now. Boston better wake up or they'll find themselves beaten in this series as well.
Now, David, yesterday you were behind the controls without your daddy for the first time.
I wouldn't call him that. Wouldn't say that. But
how did that go over? Because it seems like there's been some discrepancies between what you apparently told Kelly before the show yesterday and then what actually happened.
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously confident in being behind the controls. I've been behind here the last couple of weeks. Last night or yesterday was just the first time Billy was not here. Mm-hmm. On Monday, he was in your seat, so I was all alone back here without my buddy.
All alone.
But I thought it went well other than the Kelly's World of Football that kind of glitched out. I thought it was well.
Right. We took on a little water there.
Yeah, we didn't know what was going on.
Right. Is that a free shirt?
No, the Sounds did give me this free shirt.
Oh, nice.
But I wouldn't guess that was a free shirt. That's a nice shirt.
Yeah, this shirt costs like $40 in the store. So
nice.
Everybody's got polos on today.
Yeah.
I'm proud of Kelly for his polo.
Well, I mean, collared shirt. It's great.
Hey, the other day I had a Lululemon shirt on, man. You don't know anything about that, George, because all you wear is those 1979 Knights of the Round Table, dude.
No, those are polos.
I'll let you tell it they're polos.
Let's go back, though, and let's turn the heat on David for a minute. What did he say to you yesterday before the show?
I really don't remember. I just know that I asked David if everything was going to go okay since Billy was there, and he's like, "We got this, man. It's no problem."
I gave him a confident
we don't really
answer.
need Billy, is what he said. I think it was like, we don't really need Billy for this show to go, so I've got everything under control.
I don't know if it was all that.
I think the right answer would have been, I'm going to do the best I can, but I'm certainly not at Billy's level yet. I think if you had, that answer would have gotten you totally off the hook with what's your name? Kelly.
It takes age and experience to understand that, though, George. When you're young, I used to talk trash more than anybody, and I used to have to eat my words so many times, stick a foot in my mouth so many times. I mean, that just comes with age. But let's say the record straight, okay? Let's set it straight. I'm still a David guy. Like Billy nerves me with some of the things he does, with the technology, but like David's still my guy.
The real question is, was Billy nervous for me or for us yesterday with me behind
Billy? I promise, didn't care. He didn't think about it. I don't think
he cared whatsoever.
No,
I think he was looking for Ted Turner. Okay. Billy, do we have, that was a really good little monologue. The four of us might be a warm-up for Nate Bargatze next time he performs at the arena.
We ready for an update?
I thought it was really good humor. Do you have an update?
I do. We got to the NBA stuff. Obviously, he beat the Celtics last night.
We're aware of that. Move on.
Tonight, Lakers at the Nuggets. 7:30 tonight on ESPN. Denver is a 5.5-point favorite.
I'm well aware of that.
We'll see if George has a play on that later today.
Well, now, hold on a second. You know I have a play on that.
We'll see what the play is.
Okay. That's not what you said.
Well, I mean, who knows? We don't know where you're going tonight.
I'm going to the Vandy, Arkansas game.
Ooh, wow.
Nice.
We don't know where you're going bet-wise yet.
Well, I think you've got a pretty good idea.
Well, we'll see.
And I can tell you in the NHL that Kelly knows, David knows, the world knows.
Go Panthers. Panthers on the road tonight in Carolina. Carolina has a big boost tonight. They get Tara Vinen back from injury. So
Great.
Billy's against you tonight.
You know what? You think I care? I mean, really. I mean, I'm a veteran at this. I've picked over 350 of these. I've got a record that's pretty doggone good. You think I care what
when
he
are we
thinks?
gonna? It's been about a year since we did. So are we going to reset or?
Yeah, we might have around July the 10th.
Okay,
we'll go to 0-0.
That'll be good for everybody.
Hey Billy, so we had something that came up yesterday. Okay, we had a little bit of the discussion that came up yesterday. Like if we've got points here, like if he don't win the point battle in these bets, then he shouldn't. Like David gave him a win yesterday, but that was a push.
We
changed
it.
We changed it.
We took that up.
Okay, we've taken care of that.
We took that up with the panel.
Not only do you not want me getting any favors, hell, you don't even root for me, but I certainly don't want that either.
That's right.
I mean, want it to be fair and square.
Yeah, if we're going to play it, let's play it right.
Everything above board.
This is a fair deal, but I mean, we're not cutting any corners here.
Can I buy a half point?
No.
Okay. What else?
Tomorrow, Dallas at Vegas, 7:30 on ESPN. That'll be a fun matchup as well. PGA Championship going on up in New York.
I want to hear you butcher some of these names.
Yeah, Fuzzy Zoller. No Tiger Woods in this tournament, but Jordan Spieth is available.
Or playing. As they say on the first tee at the British Open, Jordan Spieth.
George, guess who's at the top of the leaderboard?
Scotty Scheffler.
Scotty Scheffler, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, he is at the top of the leaderboard.
He's tied. He's tied.
Scotty Scheffler. Corey Connors at -3. Bryson DeChambeau at -3. Keegan Bradley at -3. We got 4 guys knotted up at the top. Ryan Fox as well. Victor Hovland up there.
So who decided that the LIV guys get to play in the PGA?
I don't know that. I told you that a couple of weeks ago. The other ones are not sponsored by the PGA, but I guess they get to play in all 4 majors, which I'm cool with that. If they don't, I don't really dig what they did with the LIV tournament, but hey, all the players, the best players in the world, let's go play the majors.
Well, it does seem, though, that if they're ever going to come to some agreements in the future, that they're going to have to put some sanctions down. Right now, there's nothing out there for the Bryson DeChambeaus to have to fear. And when I say fear, I mean you can't play in the Masters, can't play in the PGA. Yeah. As long as they're able to do that, they're like, man, we got it made.
I agree with that because the other tournaments are not sanctioned by the PGA. I mean, the U.S. Open is, it's not. British Open obviously is, is somewhere else, and then the Masters is not sanctioned by the PGA. So I'm with you until they start telling them that, hey, you cannot play in the majors. They're going to do what they're going to do.
By the way, it's absurd that they're playing in Minnesota.
They're playing in New York, Rochester, New York.
Oh, well, okay, then let's take away Minnesota. Did they not delay the start today because it was like 38 degrees?
I think you're right on that. It was pretty chilly.
But get a brain. Play somewhere where it's warm.
But, I mean, usually it's not 38 degrees in New York. At least at this time of year. I think they got a little unlucky with the timing of the –
they may have.
I think you do have a little bit of a point there.
My apologies to the Minnesotans.
George, we got some college hoops news to get to. North Carolina transfer Caleb Love is no longer committed to Michigan.
Right.
He went from North Carolina to Michigan last month, but sources told ESPN that there was an admissions issue related to credits transferring.
I know about admissions issues.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
Did you deal with any of those?
Let's just say that I was fortunate.
Would you have been able to enter the portal and land at another school?
I don't think anybody would have cared. I think I would
So
have
I'm
been.
sure I'm sure those admission issues means that he's got to stay at North Carolina. Is that what we're saying?
That's sort of what it looks like.
Yeah.
By the way, anybody notice Kelvin Sampson at Houston interviewed for the Milwaukee Bucks job yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
I bet the
I
people
saw
in
that.
Houston are a little chapped.
Yeah.
That's a little interesting. I mean,
That's very interesting.
Houston, a top 5 program these past few years.
He gets great effort from the college kids. No team plays harder than Houston. Does he get that kind of effort in the NBA? I don't know about that.
And does he want out in this era of college athletics? I think there's some coaches out there.
If he interviewed for the job, there must be some reason. I mean, you don't go for an interview and walk in and say, I don't want the job, but I'm just here for practice.
Well, that's what you got to think. I mean, maybe he doesn't want to be a part of the NIL transfer portal world.
May not be.
At some point, we needed to probably discuss those NBA head coaching
Ooh.
vacancies and which one's the most appealing if you would want. There's the Suns, the Bucks, Sixers.
I was going to say Spurs. Popovich is still there, but he's getting old.
He's going to retire at some point, but they would never fire him.
Billy, are you through with your update?
You got one more piece.
Okay.
George Vanderbilt has finally landed a transfer, a 4-star transfer from Notre Dame, Van Allen Lubin. That's his name. He's 6'8", 226 pounds. He can play either forward or center. He's got 3 seasons left of eligibility.
Is the last name Allen Lubin?
So there's the first name is Van Allen.
Okay.
So a dash, and the last
so
name is
a
Lubin.
PA announcer could go field goal by Lubin.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And apparently, Georgia source indicated that he picked Vandy over Miami.
Okay.
And there was a little NIL bidding war going on. So apparently Vandy's finally starting to pony up.
There is one other story you have not gotten to.
Are you? Is this about Rafael Nadal or
No, it is not. It's about little small stuff. The Snyders.
Oh, Snyder.
Okay, so they're having NFL meetings, and apparently at these meetings, they're not going to decide about the transfer of the Deadskins to this new group. What in the hell are you waiting on? God, you ought to be so thrilled to be rid of those two. If I was an owner, I'd be like, let's vote now. Get them out of here. How about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like you. I don't know what the holdup is, but this is going on for months now.
Oh.
It's kind of crazy. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't think he's probably he's probably still being a butthole about it. And, they're going to have to concede to what he wants, I'm sure.
Little small stuff.
Little small
stuff. I've never heard
Daniel.
that.
That was my nickname for him.
Okay,
after the break, we're going to go a lot deeper into what we talked about a tad bit yesterday. There is some unrest in the Atlantic Coast Conference right now, and who knows what that means down the road. Former NC State athletic director, contributor to the show, great golfer, and former MTSU athletic director Lee Fowler will join us after the break. He was Kelly's athletic director in college.
He was an MTSU AD?
Yeah, he was.
Why did I never know that?
It's shocking that you did. I mean, you don't even know how to say Buzzy Zolar's name. You know what I'm saying?
George, you never brought that up whenever we had him on.
Kelly.
That's not my fault.
He has got to start keeping up.
He really does. He's got to grow up at some point, dude.
Where does he come up?
Lee will join us. I love it. Lee will join us after the break. By the way, for those of you who have watched the first 20 minutes, this is 20 minutes of your life you will never get back. Stay tuned.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Links. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
We are back at the beautiful Fordyce Center in Bellevue. I'm going to stall around for just a second. We're going to get Lee Fowler hooked up. Thought we were going to have him on by phone, but it looks like he will be on by Zoom. Here is essentially the story. Conflict broke out earlier this week when the ACC athletic directors got together with their Commissioner Phillips. And a lot of what went on in these meetings has to do with the fact that the ACC is not able, through television deals, to secure the kind of money that the SEC and the Big Ten have. So this opens up all kinds of possibilities. Kelly, it just sounds like another summer of fruit basket turnover, but that's why we're going to bring Lee on here in a minute to find out what he thinks.
Well, it sounded like there were 7 teams that teamed up before the meeting. I mean, you had Florida State, Clemson, Miami, you had Virginia, Virginia Tech, and then North Carolina State, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
So, they went in with, some expectations, and then everybody was upset. And then from what I read, it was like they went in with a bang and they ended as a whimper on Wednesday. Everybody was on the same page and everybody was happy. But I don't know. Maybe that's just talk. George. I'm not sure with listening to what that was. And, they're right, because Clemson and Florida State in football, Florida State hadn't been very good in the last, I don't know how long. It's been a while. They went into that. I remember when they first went into the ACC and they couldn't lose a game. It was crazy. And now they're struggling, but they still got a really good program, and people still watch them. So I understand where Clemson and Florida State's coming, because they're the ones that bring people to the table in the ACC, and they were wanting more of their share of some of the money. It all boils down to money. We both know that, George.
Yeah. Okay. I'm told Lee Fowler is ready. He has gotten off the golf course, competing today in his own PGA golf tournament. Lee, how'd you play?
I actually won 1-up. I'm playing match play tournament at the club, and so I did well. I was lucky to win. Had a good match.
Which club were you at, Lee?
Greymere Country Club.
Okay, I got you.
So it was a fun day, and hard the last hole to shut him out, and it was good. How about this ACC, George?
Yes. So here's one of the things that got out yesterday. There was apparently some sort of a shouting match between John Curry, who's now the athletic director at Wake Forest, but formerly was at Tennessee, and Boo Corrigan, who is now the athletic director at NC State, who was once considered the front runner at Vandy when Malcolm Turner got the job. So you got a little Vandy, Tennessee spat going on. Lee, in all of those kind of meetings that you were a part of, was there ever a shouting match between two ADs?
No, there were people who got mad at each other, but when it came to football, it was always Florida State and Clemson every once in a while. But you got to remember there was 7 original schools, and those 7 kind of ran the thing, and then it got to 9 when Florida State came in, and it always came down, George, when you mentioned not sharing it equally, then Carolina and Duke wanted to talk about basketball money, which was shared equally. So that kind of ended the conversation. And then, of course, now the football money has gotten to be bigger than basketball money if you go to the BCS. So I'm sure that's what's driving the train. Kelly's completely correct that it's all about money. And I kind of hate it because when I was part of the ACC, it was run, believe it or not, by faculty reps. And the faculty reps were very much involved to make sure academics was considered and not just the money and that sort of thing. I'm sure that's changed over the years. I've been gone 12 years, but it's nothing really changes. It all stays the same. And it's all about the money at this point. And that frustrates me a little bit because on one hand, they gripe about, they're trying to treat us like pros. Well, the ADs and the coaches are making what the pros make now. And the players, of course, are getting some compensation, and people gripe about that. But it's I just hate to see that the money's driving the train. And I can understand Wake and State. Kind of surprised me it was Wake and State arguing, but that just means Boo probably wanted to talk about it because they were in top 10 this year and then lost a couple games and fell out of it. It's always the people that feel like they may have a chance to go to the BCS. And they want more of the share if they do that. So, but you can understand Duke and Carolina not wanting to share that money. But the things I've talked to a couple of old ADs in the league, and they told me today that there's been a lot of conversation about it, but they feel like in the end they're going to take it. They're going to be kind of like Washington D.C. or Nashville. They're going to take the new money, which nobody has anything to do with at this point, when it goes to those more games in the BCS, and they're going to just take 10 million out of that, and then the rest of it will be shared. So you're basically talking about 75% of the money they get's not being taken out because they're still keeping it the way it used to be, bowl money and all that sort of stuff. But the BCS money, and they're getting ready to get a huge amount of money 2 years from now. So that's what they're dealing with, the new money. As you know, the great politicians tell you, well, you've never had it, so it's really not your money. So that's what's going on. And, this is discussions before their spring meetings. Their spring meetings should be this week or next. They used to go to they went to Marco Island in the winter, but they used to go to outside of Jacksonville. And I'm sure there'll be more discussions before it's all settled. They just probably wanted to get a lot of this stuff done before they got to those spring meetings, because that'll be voted on at that. It wouldn't be voted on just at an AD's meeting.
Lee, the meetings that took place that resulted in the shouting match were at Amelia Island.
Oh,
we met in Newark.
No, that is a spring meeting then. I was thinking they had meetings before that. So they're in their spring meetings, and that's what's going on. But it's been going on a long time in the ACC. Because football people wanted more money, and because they drove the train in that. And I'm sure Wake, and it wasn't long ago, George, that Wake Forest was getting some of NC State's money for home games. So they were trying to keep it equal. And I remember my great friend Dick Badur, who's AD at North Carolina for many years, said, I'm giving Wake Forest money, and they're beating me 3 out of 4 times. So why am I giving them money because their revenue wasn't as good. Their stadium isn't as big. It's kind of like Vanderbilt. And so they were sharing revenue for home games also. So, I tell you could go away for 100 years and come back to a spring meeting in Amelia, and they'd be talking about the same things.
Lee, what appears to be at stake is the fact that the payouts to the ACC schools are more than $20 million less than what an SEC or a Big Ten school will be getting here in the future. What we have out there is what is right now believed to be the payout this year for teams in the various conferences. Truthfully, will there ever be a day where the ACC comes anywhere close to toe-to-toe?
Well, not with the present schools they have, George. I think they're going to go to 43 million next year, but the others are probably going up also. But an article I read that Mike Alford, who's the AD at Florida State, says, we're just trying to stay third. So, in other words, they don't ever think they'll catch up with the Big Ten or the SEC, but they're just making sure they're not falling below the Big 12 and some of those other conferences. And, there's an argument on every side of these issues, but that's their conversations. We need to, if you're expecting us to go to that and compete with those other people, we got to be closer in line with what their budgets are. Now, we all know budgets are funny anyway. Some people have 900 student athletes. Some people have 600 student athletes. So budgets are you can't compare one to the other in a lot of situations, even the state and the private schools and that sort of thing. So I think that it's interesting to me. I called some old friends in the league today, and they were laughing heartily about what was going on because they had all heard it before.
Lee, is there a scenario, and I'm thinking back a couple of years ago, when nobody had a clue that Greg Sankey had worked a deal with Oklahoma and with Texas, and Brent Zwerneman from the Houston Chronicle, I've had on several times. He was the guy that broke the story, and it stunned Sankey that he knew any of it. Is there a scenario where we could see the same thing this year in Nashville, where a Brent Zwerneman breaks a story that Florida State and Clemson have moved to the SEC?
Well, I don't think so, George. I think that they use that for leverage, but I think what actually, their buyout to leave, and this goes through 33 or something, their contract's way out there, is $120 million to leave the league. So those people, when they get enough votes in their league, and usually have to have 2/3 of the votes, everybody has to live with that, and that's quite a big number to not only change leagues, pay that, and the other leagues have to, take you 10 or 12 years to get your money back after paying $120 million. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I think they use that as leverage to get what they got.
So Kelly, Lee Fowler was your athletic director when you started MTSU. Were you aware that he was once my color announcer at Memphis State?
I was not aware of that. I mean, I was a young chap back in the day, George, so I had no clue about that until you told me this morning. So, yeah, I didn't have any clue about that.
Did Lee look like this?
No, not quite.
No, Lee did not. We were both quite younger, we were all three quite younger at that point. So,
hey, George, I want to tell you something about Kelly. Kelly is the toughest guy I've ever seen in my life. We went to play. He was were you a freshman when he played at Texas A&M?
I wasn't at Texas A&M. That wasn't
Texas
me.
A&M. It was another. Maybe
it may have been another quarterback.
Freshman year in the.
We played Florida State.
Well, all I remember is you getting your jaw broken. What game did you get your jaw broken?
Well, that was the Georgia Southern game where I shattered my jaw, which was really dumb on my part because I decided to stay in the game. I broke my jaw. Yeah, I broke my jaw on the first drive of the second half, and that was probably one of the stupider things I did in my life. I finished the game.
Yeah, and he's the toughest guy I've ever seen. I'm here to tell you, to finish that game with a broken jaw, and a great player. Of course, everybody knows that, and played in the pros a long time. he's a proud graduate of MTSU, I know, and they sure love him. And he did a lot of great things for that program. And Kelly, that it was not easy back then because we were trying to go to Division 1A, and they had to play a lot of people to get there to that they didn't belong on the field with, but did really well in it. And I love it every day. I see MTSU's name on the boards on Saturdays, playing the teams and beating the teams that they're beating. So it's been great for the university.
Yeah, it really has. I was going to ask you, you being an AD, how different of a climate is today's, we're talking about back in the day when I played, but how different of a climate is for an AD nowadays than it was back then, because now you got all the social media with the young kids. Now you got all this NIL money. It's kind of crazy. And I know that that's the coach's deal, but you're the one that hired the coach, and you're the one that has to put those coaches under your realm of power. So how different is it for an AD nowadays than it was, say, 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
Well, I think everything is public. That makes it tough because the type of things that go on that are not expected but happen on college campuses of young people who are 19 to 22 years old. And everybody knows that. And everybody has an opinion about what you're doing. And hindsight's 2020, and all this. I don't worry about the NIL money, and I've talked to people at Memphis where I was for years. MTSU, they're all worried they can't compete. But Kelly, there's numbers. There have to be so many teams because you got to play somebody else. You can't play SEC, can't play all SEC games. So I don't know that it makes the biggest difference it makes right now is that guys are taken away after they played a year or two that the big boys missed on, and they come and snatch them away. And they're doing a lot of that in basketball. Last year, I represent a Division II school, the Carolina Conference, and they had 15 first, second, third teams in basketball. They had 13 guys that didn't come back there next year. They didn't graduate. 2 graduated. The other 13 went to different programs after the season. So it's so hard on coaches now. I'm surprised they still have a shake hands line after the game, because the coaches, all they have to do is say, man, you can come play for us. You can really play. And they go in the portal and go play other places. So it's changed so much. Money changed it. It's hard to defend. And George has heard this before. I left NC State in 10 and 11. I made $260, was the most I ever made as an AD at NC State. The lady that replaced me, Debbie Yao, made $1.1 million the next year. And that's when the money came in for the football TV money. And that they got a $12 million hit that year, everybody's salary. My football coach then, Tom O'Brien, who's a great coach, made $1.7 million. And I bet you the football coach at NC State now makes $7 million. So it's hard to defend that you're doing it for the good of the kids and that they're student athletes when that kind of money's being my baseball coach when I left in 10 made $160. He makes $890 now. So it's just crazy money. And most of that came from this money that we're talking about. And so Florida State wants to compete with Alabama. Wake Forest wants to just be competitive in the league, maybe win a championship every once in a while. So everybody's not fighting for the same goal. And that's why you have these voices raised in conference meetings, because they have a different goal than now. You tell your fans everybody's trying to win a national championship, but some people realistically know that's not a goal every year, and you're trying to do right by the kids. And so it's a tough environment. It's an environment, Kelly, that there aren't a lot of me and you ADs anymore. They're all come up through the system of marketing and compliance and this and that. So there aren't many guys doing it, or women, that played the sport. So I think we lose a lot when you got somebody at the head of the and they're making a lot of money. They're going to kind of do things they need to do to keep making that money. So it's scary. I think the money has created a lot of this, and it's hard for people to defend it.
So there was a coach that I know that talked to a coach over where I was coaching at Riverdale, and they were talking about there were only going to be a couple of teams every year that were going to be able to win the national championship. I mean, is that kind of what you see with all the money things going on and this NIL stuff going on? They can present more to players. He was talking about how the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Alabama, the Clemsons, and, maybe a few other teams, but not many were going to be the ones. And I'm sure you're going to have some every now and then, but that seems kind of where the landscape is going. Like you're going to have only a couple of teams year after year to be up there to position themselves to win a national championship because of the money.
Well, but if you look back, things have changed with the playoffs and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
but those same schools were the ones that were playing for championships anyway. They've
Sure.
always had more. I mean, we went to Ohio State and Phillip Rivers played 4 overtimes, and they beat us in the last overtime. And we had a $60 million budget, and they had a $150 million budget. Wow. So I mean, the money different. They have more sports, more kids, like I said. But a lot of these programs, I would say, if you went back 30 years, and I'm sure George, his Cracker Jack research team, you would have probably the same 20 to 25 teams that are nationally ranked, probably the same 10 teams that are there every year. Same thing in basketball, Duke and Carolina. I mean, they've been dominating the Final Four for many, many years.
Right.
So I think that's used by coaches that say we can't compete anymore. I don't think it changes a lot. They're still going to be the team that's there every year. But other teams, like I said, like NC State, if they won 2 more games this year, they could have had a chance to play in the national championship. So they lost to Florida State and I think to Miami. But it's all about leadership, Kelly. And you are a great leader, and
Right.
You've seen great leaders. And if you have a great leader and is even competitive with the money and the structure, they'll have a chance to be successful. And I don't think any of that's changed, but it's got a lot of conversation going on about it. But I don't think it runs anybody out of business. I don't think if you put 1 through 1, I think there are 120 something, 130 something schools in Division I. I bet you they don't fluctuate from year to year 10 spots and won't after all the money is spent on this. It's just, it's kind of the good ones get more because they are good and have been good and have the reputation. So it's a lot of talk, but I'm big on guys like you that are good leaders and can lead people to do great things.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this question. Since being an AD, you got to have a beat on your coaches, but have you talked to any coaches? I'm sure it gets frustrating, and I think it's running some guys out of the profession with all this NIL stuff and the transfer portal. Now, you not only have to recruit kids to come to your program, but it seems like you got to recruit kids that are in your program to stay in your program. So I know it's getting hard on the coaches. I've heard some of the coaches talk about I'm over it. So if you talk to any that kind of feel the same way?
Oh, they all feel the same way. I think that it's frustrating because it's so much different but I think the true thing that it hurts high school kids. There are high school kids that don't get recruited now because they're getting some kid that's played somewhere else for a year that they've seen play at a different level. And that's where I hate it. I mean, I think those kids are the ones that are losing in this whole deal because they have to go where the big boys are going. They're going to try to go get players that have been established, and that's what's happening. And then, as you probably know, about 2/3 of the ones that go in the portal don't even get picked. So,
right.
So it's a place that you think you can better yourself, but we've lost touch with what it's all about and getting a degree and having relationships. And I've been fortunate. I've got 3 daughters, and all 3 of my daughters have the most unbelievable relationships with their teammates. They go to weddings, they go to Europe together. I mean, that's what it's all about. And we've kind of lost sight of that. But as you know, when you quit playing, then that's what you really care about. It's who your teammates were and who you knew. And the money's just kind of gotten that out of whack.
No, it really has, man. And I appreciate you saying that, because that's what I've told my daughter. She plays basketball at Lipscomb, and she got 1 more year. And I've told her, when it's over, it's very final, and you don't understand until it's there. So that's, that's what college athletics are about. I hate the way that it's gotten. I really do. I think the kids, and I presented this to George, even when I played, you get a kid like myself who had a mom and dad that, we weren't rich, but I could go out and eat. But then you get a kid that doesn't have anything, and he's on scholarship, but he has no money for gas. He has no money to take a girl out or go to the movies with her or do something like that. So I think the kids need something. But like when you're promising a kid $8 million like the kid at UT, that's just that's a lot of money to be paying to an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid that is not a professional yet. And that I just don't know the incentive to give them to work, to get them to work to go to the next level.
Yeah, because it has nothing to do with you give them that because you think they're going to be great, but it has nothing to do with whether they are or not. And the other money the guys get is because they have produced and they have shown they can do that. High school kids, I mean, it's crazy. Of course, you know, we talk about 10 or 20 kids that make anywhere close to good money, and it kind of label everybody that way. And most of the kids are not. I thought it was really funny. Most of the kids that are making a lot of money are gymnastics girls, volleyball girls that know about social media and have done anything from what they're wearing to all that sort of stuff. They've really made a lot of money. More power to them. I think it's great. And it opened the door for that, but I'm not sure that across the board, that's the issue that we have to live with. I think it's, no, you can transfer without sitting out. That's crazy. You know, I understand if the coach leaves, that's great. You know, if the coach leaves, then the kid ought to be able to leave. But we don't teach them commitment. We don't teach them anything that you need to know in life to get yourself back up and go. And I think that's the travesty of all this, is that we went because we think the kids deserve it, but you know, I think it's destroying 80% of the kids, and they're not getting any money. So that's the negative of all the things that have gone on in the last 5 years when the money came in.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, Lee. Well, I appreciate it. I think we're up against the break, so I'll throw it back to George. I could talk to you all day. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly. I tell you, there's no better guy than that guy right there. I lived it as AD, and he can really, I mean, he's a great leader and a great player.
Well, I appreciate
Lee,
it.
thanks for coming on with us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, George.
Thanks, Lee.
As always. Former NC State, former MTSU athletic director, and most importantly, my color analyst at Memphis State, Lee Fowler, joining us here on the show. We'll go to the break and then a little bit of reaction to where we just took all this. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is about 2.5 months away. And I'll tell you up front, I've never been to a Grand Prix. I don't know what to expect. I do know that I'm going this year. I also know that a lot of you over the last 2 years would be in the same boat I've been. Never been to one, had no idea what to expect. And a ton of you have come out saying this is one of the coolest sporting events you've ever been to. Combine that with all the music that they have announced for the 3 days, and August 4th through 6th is going to be something pretty amazing here in our city. Now, tickets are available on a variety of fronts, whether it's general admission all the way up to the most exclusive of exclusive. You can get in on the action by going to musiccitygp.com. Again, that's musiccitygp.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
We are back. Those of you who watch the show, excuse me, on kind of a religious basis, know that I have been harping this week about this ACC story. I may be a little early to the table. I don't think that a Clemson and a Florida State will be joining the SEC this summer, although I'll also say I never saw Oklahoma and Texas doing this. However, what I do believe is that we've only just begun with the ACC trouble. And the truth of it is the ACC doesn't really have any answers. They've got a TV contract with ESPN. ESPN's not going to walk in and say, oh, you've got problems. Let's throw an extra $400 million to solve it for you. That's not going to happen. So what is going to happen? Kelly, I believe before it's over, that league is going to splinter, and then all hell's going to break loose.
Well, you could be right, George, but what Lee said, he said 2033, but it's actually 2036. They got a contract to 2036. So if you try to leave that league, you got to pay $120 million, which he alluded to. So nobody's going to do that. They're obviously going to have to try to find a loophole, and you're going to have to get lawyers involved if that's the case, because all this stuff goes to legal counsel if that is the move that you want to make. So that's a lot of money for a team. And just like he talked about, if you do go and pay that to try to get out of the league, you're going to have to, it's going to be many years before you get yourself out of that debt. So I just don't see it happening, but I don't know. Stranger things have happened, George, and I'm sure they're going to go the legal route to try to see if they can and get out of it, because it's all about making money. And if I've always thought Florida State made sense to come to the SEC. I thought when they brought Texas A&M and Missouri in, that was kind of, I can understand Texas A&M. It's a Southern team, but like when you bring Missouri in, that was kind of crazy to me. And then I'm like you, like Texas and Oklahoma have always been Big 12. It's hard to imagine that Texas and Oklahoma's coming too, but I can see Florida State and Clemson finding a loophole in all that and making their way to the SEC too because of money.
Here's, I guess, where I go with this. So 7 of these schools, and you listed them earlier, those 7 are pissed off.
Yep.
They're not happy with the arrangement. Okay. They didn't get together just to have a Jack and Coke, together. They got together because they don't think things are headed in the right direction. And my suspicion is somebody in those meetings said, we don't have any good answers. We don't have anywhere we can turn. We have been pigeonholed into accepting this. And I think at some point, it may not be this year, but these meetings are the signal. If I'm the ACC commissioner and I'm going back to wherever their headquarters are, I'm not saying, oh, everything's beautiful. Everything's not beautiful. This is serious.
Well, all these schools are saying the right things when they come out of that meeting, that they're all on the same page,
Sure.
but they're going to say that. That's just politics. And, you talked about the 7 schools. Well, they added another one because Louisville got in there with them. So Louisville's obviously with them. So that makes 8. And I think that's half of the ACC schools. So there's obviously some things brewing. Where there's smoke, there's fire, George. You know that. So it wouldn't surprise me. And, it was just like last summer where all these teams started to, pick up and go somewhere else. I wouldn't be surprised here in a year or two if that starts happening again with some schools in some of these conferences.
Real quick before we go to the break, does the ACC try to contact Notre Dame and say, listen, I know you've got your deal with NBC, but we could really use you officially in our conference right now?
I don't think Notre Dame gives a damn. I think Notre Dame is out for Notre Dame and to hell with everybody else.
So
Correct.
you think Notre Dame isn't even open to that?
Oh, no. I think Notre Dame thinks that they are the cat daddy and they are beyond discussion.
They haven't won a national championship in years, but that's just the way they feel. They've always felt that way. They've always had this contract with NBC. They do not care.
George said a few months ago, join a conference. he was passionate about it.
Well, I'll say this, it would be nice if that issue got settled. But the problem is Notre Dame has its nose stuck up in the air in we're a cut above the world. And Kelly's right. They haven't won anything at anything in a long time. It's been 30 plus years since they've won a national title in football. Their basketball track record is basically the same as Vandy's. It's about on par with Vandy. And they really haven't won anything in a long time. And yet they've got their nose up in the air. I mean, I'd love to see it happen. I don't think it does.
Yeah, but at some point, don't you think, George, that they got to pick a side? They're going to have to go somewhere. I mean,
I would have thought by now it would have happened, Kelly.
Yeah, that's true.
And the fact that it hadn't tells me they are never going to budge.
Maybe so.
They can play BYU. They can
and Navy and Army and Air Force
and Marines.
Air Force and the Marines. Yeah.
Okay, I know we have stat of the day coming, and then Danny Evans during the 3:00 hour.
Got a PGA leaderboard note as well.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Stay tuned. We're coming back.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general. Baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in. It is time for Stat of the Day, presented to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards, located in Shelbyville, Tennessee. 204 East Depot Street is where you can find them. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So give them a visit, or you can give them a call at 931-492-4304. With Danny Evans in the on-deck circle and ready to go, we're going to go baseball with Danny. Last week, someone Danny's really familiar with, Kenley Jansen, became the 7th closer in MLB history to record over 400 saves. Jansen had a career high in saves in 2016 with the Dodgers, 47 saves that year. Can you name the closer who has the most saves in MLB history for a single season?
Bobby Thigpen, 57, Chicago White Sox.
Right away, we're going for it.
Well, I'll say this.
Well,
let me bring Danny up.
Yeah, you might want to have some discussion with Danny.
Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I know the streak is Eric Gagne, who I converted to a bullpen guy.
That's right.
So, but I don't think Eric had 57 in a season, or else I would have got a 10-year contract extension. Can I just say one quick thing about Kenley Jansen, guys?
Yeah.
We signed him as a left-handed hitting catcher out of Curacao.
Yeah.
6'4" left-handed hitter who had an aversion to bat on ball, but boy, could he catch and throw. And we converted him to a guy on the mound, and I think it worked out quite well for Mr. Jansen.
I saw a clip of him throwing a guy out at second from his knees.
Yeah,
the
I'd
other
like
day.
to have seen that. Kelly,
So
what have you
I believe I know the answer.
I wanted to get George.
Well, now wait a minute. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Are you saying it's Gagne? Are you saying it's Thigpen? Who are you saying it is?
I'm saying it's neither. I was there with Bobby when he broke the record that year. I think it's Francisco Rodriguez.
K-Rod.
Oh, Kelly, I know you have an opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm just sitting here listening to some of the names y'all are pulling out, and that's not anything. You know, I have no clue.
Okay,
I would throw Mariano Rivera out, Dennis Eckersley. I don't know. I mean,
Just
y'all are the
show
ones
us.
that do that.
Show us what you got.
Once again, Danny strikes. It is Francisco
Boom.
Alvarez.
Wow,
Danny's on fire.
Okay, was
Hello.
second with 57?
I have to go back and look at it.
Okay.
I mean, this is a piece of cake.
It is K-Rod. So
Man,
Danny's
I rattled off my 57 with assuredness that old
sure
Plaz
did.
got one.
And you can tell by the way David was talking that you weren't right, so you had to know that to begin with.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Kelly.
Gagne converted like 88 in a row. But we just didn't have enough close games for him to get that many saves. I think we won 94 games one year and 91 the other, but we didn't have that many close games that he could accumulate that many saves.
Wow. Good stuff. So, Danny, I'm going to start where I've started every week since you've been coming on.
Gosh.
For the last 30 years, the Oakland Coliseum has been an issue that had not moved 1 inch. And in the last 2 weeks, we have had rocket movement. It sure looks like the A's are going to Vegas. So I'm going to ask it again. Does this have MLB saying to Tampa, we've gotten this one done. You need to tell us something?
George, I tell you what, Major League Baseball does a great job in the background of helping a team through a process like this. We went through it with the White Sox in 1986, early in my career, when we were trying to get a stadium built. We were contemplating going to Tampa Bay. The communication is distinct. It's wonderfully proactive. It's full of information. It's great to have somebody to bounce something off of from a club standpoint. I don't think they would have got to this point without some real careful strategy being followed. And George, I think it's great for the game if they're able to move forward to the point that they want, because some of the still photos and some of the video I've seen from the Coliseum in the first 7-8 weeks of the season is troubling to see that few people in the ballpark. It's really difficult.
Danny, I've got the MLB extra innings package, and I'm seeing the same thing you are. Looks like on certain nights, 500, maybe 1,000 people. I mean, this thing's got to get settled. So,
and George, you know, when you announce 2,500, you and I both know that's 2,500 sold. I mean, that's if they have a 50% show, that's 1,200 people in the ballpark. And that's just a very difficult aesthetic, and it's just not good for the game.
Colin Perry, who's the communications manager for the Sounds, wanted to compare the attendance with Nashville compared to Oakland on the nights they had similar home games. I think there's 10 games to this point where they've shared similar dates. The Sounds have outdrew them 70% of the time. So 7 out of 10. So Nashville's AAA has a better market than the A's Major League team.
Well, it's also a better city.
True.
But Danny, that leads me to where we are right now. A gentleman from outside of our city, John Lohr, came into town, I want to say 3-4 years ago, and started the efforts on on bringing Major League Baseball to Nashville. And I think the thing they have done very well, they have pushed out communication incredibly. They have thrown out names like Dave Stewart and Dave Dombrowski and Tony La Russa. Now, let me say this. Who cares? None of those people are going to have anything to do with whether Nashville gets this or not, but somehow he got them hooked into this.
Mm-hmm.
We've been told what our nickname is going to be, the Nashville Stars. I doubt it, but I can't prove it. We've been told our stadium is going to be at TSU. That is never going to happen. For all of his proclamations, John Lohr has been very quiet about who the owner is going to be, and he's quiet because he doesn't have one. And frankly, I think the time has come, and I really hope it comes soon, where we find out what John Lohr's group is all about. I'll admit if I'm wrong. I don't think I am. I think the one potential owner that may have looked into this a little bit is the former governor, Bill Haslam, who instead, at least for now, chose to go into ownership of the Predators. I think we need to find out as a city who's really talking with what. I don't think Lohr has any money. I don't think he's got an owner with any money. I think it's just a lot of talk. And right now, talk is cheap. And right now, he can get away with it because Major League Baseball isn't asking for anything concrete. But when they do, we're going to have to do better than what we're doing now.
George, I'm going to preface my comments saying I'm a huge supporter of Nashville getting an expansion team or a relocation team. I think it's an incredibly great city, a great sports town, a great tourist destination. I think baseball will thrive in Nashville, Tennessee. I have absolutely no doubt at all. And I've told you that. And I told you that sitting at the Sounds game last September. The fans need to know that there's a lot of machinations going on in the background that never reach the media because it's really not in anyone's best interest for anything to get into the media right now. And you and I are pretty dialed in. We got our ear to the ground. And I think one of the important elements of getting a relocated team or getting an expansion team is how you work the process and how quietly you work to follow MLB's lead and follow their protocols. I think whenever you have a situation in 2023, it's more complicated than it was 30 years ago. The money's very different. The entry fee for a team, an expansion team, George, is massive compared to what it was in the last 2 rounds of expansion. You're joining an exclusive club with revenues at an all-time high, and subsequently the existing 30 owners have placed a value, and they should. I mean, it's an extraordinary product. So I think one of the things you need to be careful of in a situation like this is there's a lot of things going on percolating below the surface that could be well on their way to the right situations, and it's just not the appropriate time for things to surface. I do know one thing: they're going to be a prime candidate, and it's just going to take a lot of capital, and it's going to take a real liquid ownership base. But one thing baseball has is baseball has a lot of interest. The value of teams are escalating like never before. Many are in the $2+ billion range. It's a great investment. It's a tough buy, but I think there'll be plenty of suitors for a team when and if the Nashville team gets to that point.
Danny, right now, Haslam is the only person that I can see that might have a willingness to step up, because you're right, it's north of $1 billion that we're talking about, and maybe closer to $2 billion before it's over. I just think that at some point we've done a lot of yapping. We've told everybody, here's the nickname. John Lohr told us what our nickname's going to be. John Lohr told us where our ballpark's going to be. I don't think he has a clue what's going on, and I don't think he has a buyer. And I think we need, as a city, to find all this out. And if he is the person, first thing needs to happen is I need to say, hey, I'm sorry. I really didn't buy in. But if he's not, and he doesn't have what he says and acts like he's got, then our city needs to move on, because we're good enough to stand on our own. That's what I believe.
Well, George, first thing about you, and I've known you a long time, you will always admit if you're wrong. You will always admit if you misread a situation. I've always respected that about you. But I think this is a situation where I'm on the Manly list. I bet many of the fans listening are on the Manly list. I think they've done a rather good job getting their message out. They sent an email out in the last 24 hours. And I think they're always pretty timely, pretty concise. They do a nice job. But there comes a point in every one of these dances that you have to put your chips in. They're not there right now. But when you do get to that point, you're going to have to show your cards. And I think it's too good a situation to misfire on this. And I think for Major League Baseball's sake, they're going to want this franchise to succeed. I think it's going to be a vibrant franchise. I think it's going to be great for baseball. And I think 30, 40 years ago, it would have been looked at as a country music Hall of Fame oriented town. But now it has a vibrant demographic and a successful history with sports franchises. It's a different situation than it was 10 to 20 to 30 years ago. But I think, George, what we have here clearly is a great candidate city. And I'm very careful in my situation, because I don't know exactly what's going on in the background, but I think they're clearly going to be a strong candidate. And that being said, I think it's very imperative to any franchise situation to be ready when the time is appropriate.
Danny, I'm going to ask one last thing. I don't think I've ever asked you this before, and then Kelly will actually, after the break, get into real baseball on the field. Imagine that. I used to hear, and I don't know if it's an old wives' tale or not, territorial rights. And I used to hear this thing about Atlanta and St. Louis and Cincinnati and the Cubs. They'll fight like hell. There'll never be a National League team in Nashville, Tennessee, because of territorial rights. Is there such a thing as territorial rights?
Yeah, it still exists, George. For each of the 30 charter franchises, each of those teams have rights in regards to their geographics. It entails television, radio revenues, fan bases. I don't have that information in front of me, but each team is very protective, and they should be, just for various reasons. I mean, it's a huge investment. And in many cases, when a new team starts to be discussed, the teams that would be affected in any way are taken into confidence and spoken to about what goes on in that situation. And it's a business. I mean, it's a great sport, but it's also a business, and a very lucrative business. And as a result, if there are any franchises whose territory Nashville comes into play with, including the Nashville Sounds, there will be discussions prior to any announcement or any confirmation that the Nashville franchise becomes a major league entity.
We'll go to the break. Kelly Holcomb will join Danny Evans when we come back from the beautiful Fordyce Center in Bellevue.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Links. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between. Discover what Hit City has to offer. Single game tickets are on sale now.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700, send us a message at celestemiddleton.com, or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Now to some real baseball talk. Kelly, who knew that it would take you to get the real baseball talk?
I know it's all funny. Keep George on here if you don't mind, because I do have a question for you. Now, first of all, Danny, George, you've obviously fooled Danny because he don't really know you. He says that he knows you, but he doesn't really know you. So, I mean, good gracious. But I want to ask this question because y'all are bringing all this stuff up about a Major League Baseball franchise coming here.
By the way, I put up with all that bull Lee Fowler said about you. I didn't cheap shot you.
Okay, but this might be more of a George question, Danny, but we're building a brand new stadium for the Titans here, $2.1 billion, and we talked about last week how we're going to fund all that with the hotel tax and all that stuff. But like, that's going to be an entity that buys that. You talked about the Haslam or whatever that's going to buy the franchise, but at some point you're going to have to build a major league stadium, and that's going to fall probably on taxpayers. I don't know how you pay for that, but like, is it too much too soon if you do that, bringing a Major League Baseball team to Nashville with what the Titans have going on?
Okay, let's start, Kelly, and Danny, you chime in on this as well. It's a great question, and it's a very fair question. Do we have enough corporations to support all this stuff? The Braves Stadium, which is beautiful, but is now 5 or 6 years old, costs $645 million. Okay. So you can guess that whatever we would try to do here would be north of that, just on the concept that, stuff keeps going up. You don't hear the price of gas going to 72 cents. So why would stadiums suddenly, go to less? I mean, you've raised a great issue. Number one, do we even have the money to build another stadium? And secondly, who will be the mayor that makes that decision? We have 790 candidates running. They'll end up in a runoff before it's over. We got more people running. Kelly, are you running for mayor?
I am not. No.
You're the
now, I would get it
I
fixed if I
isn't.
was. Let's put it that way. I would.
Excuse me?
I'd vote for Kelly.
What a suck up. What a total suck up.
Who wouldn't vote for Kelly?
I would not vote for Kelly. I don't even think Kelly would. Oh, I know Danny's smarter than that. He wouldn't vote for Kelly.
I'm not registered in the state of Tennessee, so it'd be a difficult vote for me.
That's a way to dodge it, Danny. That's good. That's a way to be a manager.
Kelly, I will give you this. You asked great questions there.
Yeah.
I just thought about that, and I don't know, because it just seems like, everybody's getting thrown this stadium talk, and if a baseball team comes there, you're going to have to build a stadium. You can't go like to Tia. You can't do all that. You're going to have a stadium. So it seems like the people of Nashville would just get tired of that at some point. Now, I know that would be a great moneymaker, because I agree. I remember going as a kid to the Nashville Sounds game, because I grew up playing Little League, Babe Ruth. I love baseball, like we talked about, and Willie Stargell. And I remember going, because I think they were a Pittsburgh Pirates affiliate back then. So I remember going to the game. So I love baseball back in that day. But is it just too much too soon? That's where I'm getting at.
Well, if I could chime in here, I think, every municipality, every county, every state has to explore the possibility of the economic impact and the jobs that result, along with the prestige of having their city and their name on a major league franchise. I mean, I'm in Denver this week, and with the Nuggets hosting the Lakers, I was downtown yesterday. It's extraordinary what it means to this city and this community to have all the NBA attention here. But Kelly, here's one of the points: is it doesn't always have to be a publicly funded stadium. There are grants. There are all sorts of, private funding. There are people who want to come in and want to make a difference in a community. But the economic impact, I mean, I can tell you guys, the stadium we're building in Dyersville, in a town of 4,400 people, the number of jobs it means to the community, the county, the state, the ability to do things on the premises, not just the 81 home games, but everything else, is an extraordinary economic footprint and impact in the community. And I think any savvy businessman is going to look at it not as an 81-day investment, but perhaps a 100, a 150 day a year impact. And with jobs in the community and what things you can do to elevate the city's stature and exposure worldwide, there's something to be said for the opportunity. But there have been a lot of these projects going on in recent years, and some are privately funded and some are publicly funded. And I think that's a very difficult part of the equation, especially, Kelly, given your point, the fact that, there is already an existing situation happening in the community, and therefore it becomes as much a political decision as it does a sports question.
Well, that's perfect. That's I just thought that. That's just because I know what's going on now, and I know if we bought another, because I think, obviously Nashville could do it. And I think Nashville would be very supportive. I'd love to go to Major League Baseball games down there. I would go. I think that would be a cool deal. So I just had that question. I thought that we might figure something out. But since y'all have
Kelly, let me butt in for a second.
Okay.
There's also no rule that says that it absolutely has to be in Davidson County.
Well, that's true.
The Texas Rangers, truthfully, are not in Dallas. Right. They're in Arlington.
Right.
And I don't get the feeling that that's hurt Dallas one iota.
No. Great point, George.
No, that is. I agree. I totally agree. So with my other question here, let's go to some baseball stuff. So since y'all are dogging the Oakland A's all the time, which I can understand that, I get it, but I was looking through the roster, and I just happened upon this young man from Germantown, Tennessee, that got drafted by the Minnesota Twins. He's kind of been a bounce around guy from Kansas City. He looks like he's finally got his foot in the door at the Oakland A's. And I'm talking about Brent Rooker. What kind of player is he, Danny?
One of the great things, Kelly, about being on a bad club is you get more opportunity to succeed or fail. You don't have the pressure of the daily win-loss record determining the lineup card. And I think some guys get opportunity they ordinarily wouldn't have. But I think, and I'm not making an excuse, you guys know, I think it's the hardest thing to do in sports is to hit. And it takes some guys longer than others. I mean, Mike Trout got sent down, guys. He was hitting 170 and got sent down by the Angels initially. So hitters don't always hit. And when they eventually do, you know, they do at different times of their careers. So I think what you have here, Kel, is you have a distinctly bad franchise that doesn't have a lot of surplus of talent. So the kid knows he's going to be in the lineup every day. So you're not pressing on that AAB in the 6th inning, you know, where you think, hey, if I don't get on, I'm going to play tomorrow. And that's very real. These guys are human. And guys press. I mean, you know, Kelly, NFL, I mean, there's guys who take a snap, don't know if that's the last snap they're going to get or not. And for some people, handling that anxiety, handling that tension is insurmountable. And if you think about it, when hitting is so hard, and then you make it harder by putting that sort of inordinate pressure on yourself, it's no wonder that some guys come later on in their careers. The kid swung the bat great. The previous number 25 for the Oakland A's, pretty good hitter in his own right, Mr. McGuire. And I'm not saying this guy's that kind of player, but I think in every bad season, you do get a guy or two where you go, whoa, this guy's a little better player than we thought. And I think that might be the case in this kid, who's a local kid. And it's somebody that the Nashville people can root for.
Absolutely. That's what I was looking at. So American League East, best. I mean, it's the best conference it looks like in baseball. Everybody's got a winning record. You know, the New York Yankees kind of started off, you know, everybody talks about the Yankees, but you know, who wins that division? I know we're, you know, and you talked about it last week, we're only a quarter into the season. We got 3/4 of the way to go. So all these teams are really good. Who wins that division?
Well, Kelly, first of all, great point. That's 5 of the top 12 teams in baseball, all in one division. I watched the Orioles play the Angels this afternoon, and you know they eked out a loss 6-5, but played really well. I think you're going to have at least 2, if not 3 teams from that division. I think the Rays win it. They're going through some injuries right now, and they got a tougher schedule, but I think the Rays win it. I think you see the Blue Jays, you see the Yankees get in. I think the Orioles and the Red Sox aren't going to go away. But Kelly, just to go a little step further, the American League's best teams are far superior to the National League's teams right now in terms of numbers. You know, you take a look at the NL East, take a look at the NL Central. There are a lot of mediocre to poor teams in the National League right now. I mean, Atlanta, the Dodgers are really good clubs. I mean, top 5 teams in the game. But there's a big gap currently today between I would say the number of talented teams in the American League versus the National League. And something that's been pointed out recently, Kelly, is that the schedule is more balanced now this year. Whereas you used to play 19 games against teams in your division, this year you're playing something like 25 fewer games. So instead of playing almost half your games against your division, now you're playing a third of your games against the division. Subsequently, what you have is the AL East coming out and just destroying teams in the American League Central, beating up teams in the AL West. And what that really allows the AL East teams is instead of beating up on themselves, they're beating up externally, which Kelly candidly helps their wild card chances. So, you know, I think there's only going to be one wild card team out of the East, out of the West and out of the Central. My guess is that's Texas. And I think every other wild card team is going to come out of the AL East as a result.
So you said Texas. So that was one of the other things because they're leading their division right now, but the Astros are right behind them. So, I mean, Altuve's not back. I mean, and it was cool last year that I know that you were in that arena for a while. How cool was it last year with Dusty Baker, managing forever and got his first major league, his World Series. How cool was that? But can the Rangers keep going? And because the Astros have kind of led that whole deal. So,
well, I want to preface it saying I sure as heck don't root for the Astros, but I love Dusty Baker. I've known him for 30 plus years. He's a dear friend. I was rooting like heck for him last November and October. I think the Texas Rangers are one of the best stories in baseball this year. And I think it's a great display of the excellence of Bruce Bochy. Bochy is just one of those guys who doesn't seek notoriety, but his legacy is being just cemented, I think, in the Hall of Fame in the future. He is doing a fabulous job. And Chris Young is doing a great job leading the Rangers. I think the Rangers and the Astros are going to have a heck of a race, Kelly. I just think the Astros have a little bit more than the Rangers do. Altuve's about a week to 10 days from coming back. And I think the Astros are a little nudge better. But I look at the Rangers and I go, wow, I do not want to play them in the postseason. They got all kinds of offense. And I think they're on the rise. And I love seeing teams surface at the early stages of their improvement. And sure as heck, here we are. We're looking at a Ranger team that's not going to go away.
Nice. Okay, so here's my last question to you. It's one of these out in left field questions, but we talked to the Nashville Sounds voice the other day, Jeff Himm, and talking about the technology of the game. And I think it's really cool because these major league umps that are behind the plate are really spot on with balls and strikes. And I think you're a traditional guy, kind of like I'm a traditional guy, but just tell me that they're always going to have a human being behind the plate, because I'm worried that the way the technology's going, balls and strikes are going to it's going to start being called by a computer. And they're already trying that in AAA at some places. I mean, he was telling me that there's somebody got a thing in their ear where they're selling them balls and strikes. So just tell me that there's always going to be an ump behind the plate.
I can't tell you that, Kelly. They're
okay.
Tinkering with the automated side of balls and strikes right now. I think for me, one of the really cool things about the game is the strategy. I would say the awareness and the instincts necessary to pitching and catching and hitting with a particular umpire and knowing what he'll let you get away with, where his strike zone is. And I think it's one of the really cool insider things about the game. You know where you can go to get a strike. You know who he is at game time. They're having some trouble with the automated system thus far. I think the personality of the game it would be jeopardized a little bit with a robotic umpire behind the plate. But those discussions have been extensive and elongated, and I would not be surprised, Kelly. I would not be surprised at all. And for me, when you see some of the results of the current automated strike zone, they still need to make a lot of improvements and consistency within. And by the way, Jeff is one of the best play-by-play guys in baseball. I mean, the Nashville fans are lucky to have a guy that good doing their games.
Yeah, I did a football game with Jeff this past year, and I always do the state championship games, and I really enjoy doing it with Jeff. He's really organized. He's really prepared, and I really enjoyed it. But I'm kind of a traditional guy. I hope that never happens. I hope we keep humans in the game, but it seems like that's the way that things are going now. And you always want to keep a human element in it, but I don't know, because it seems like if one sport could do that, that would be baseball with balls and strikes.
Yeah. Kelly, what we've learned in the last 10 years with replay and just the advent of some amazing technology, not only from an analytics standpoint, but from a television and a streaming standpoint, these guys are really good.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, they do a great job. And and just like everybody, I've been one to whine about umpires when I'm with a team. You just get it. It's whiny Kool-Aid, and everybody has it. But I think what I've learned is to appreciate how elite these guys are and how many times, I went to the Rockies game yesterday against the Reds at Coors, and there's so many plays during the game where there's like, do you want to do a replay? No, he got it right. And I think what we've learned as a game is these guys are really good.
Really good.
And because the technology has affirmed that, I think more and more we recognize, hey, there isn't the need to get a whole lot better because they're pretty darn good at what they do.
Yeah, I'll sit there and watch a major league game, and I'm just quite shocked because they put that box up there. They got the box now, and those guys are really, really good. So I appreciate
Kelly,
it.
It's funny. What's funny about that box, Kelly? That box is probably drawn by some 22-year-old college senior who's working as an intern who draws the box with a telestrator inside a TV truck. So that box is not always accurate. Sometimes that box is actually a little different. And when the game's over, every home plate umpire gets a breakdown of their balls and strikes from the game, and they're actually better than what you see on TV.
Oh, wow. That's amazing, man. Because I watch it, and I'm like, golly, these guys are good. So I appreciate that, Danny. I think we're up against the clock. I'm going to give it back to George.
Danny, this was great stuff. I enjoyed listening to it. I can see an umpire wanting to strangle the 22-year-old.
I love it. George, you ready for this Big Ten game homestand for your Bravos?
Oh, I don't know, Danny. I kind of fear that really all they can do right now is tread water for a while and hope that's good enough until they get Max Fried and Kyle Wright back. I saw Soroka last Thursday night. His velocity is plenty good enough. He admitted to me, we were able to interview him last Friday. He told me that in 19, home plate felt like a beach ball and he could put it anywhere he wanted it. And he said, I'm not at that point right now.
Yeah. Well, and command is the last thing to come, George, after an injury. But the Braves have, I think, the Mariners, the Dodgers, and the Phillies on this homestand. And, I think it'll be a good indication of what to expect for the next couple of months, playing three teams of that caliber.
I wish we could snap the finger and the All-Star game would be here, and then maybe we'd have those two back. Thank you, as always. Great stuff.
Thanks, guys. See you guys.
Okay, after the break, our thanks to Danny Evans, by the way, for a terrific 45 minutes of baseball and Nashville talk. Plaster bet of the day and a little gloating is coming up next.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Welcome back in. Final segment on a Thursday. Jam-packed sports night tonight. NHL playoffs kicking underway with the Eastern Conference semifinals, the finals rather. NBA playoffs as well. Denver and LA tipping it off later on tonight. It's time for Plaster's Bet Today, presented to you by Bart Durham Injury Law Firm. They are, simply put, the best in the business. They are lawyers you can trust. So give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com. And George, you're on a winning streak.
Yes, I am.
Simple as that.
So we've added a 3 at the end of this record.
Ties, the way it should be. So
that's where it's at, Kelly. Yeah. We've added the 3, I guess.
There's literally no way that it was just 3, but that's okay because y'all screwed up. I'm here to get the show right. I mean, I understand that. I'm going to get it right. I'm going to get you boys on the same page.
We listened to the boss. The boss said,
I never said to do. No, I think that's how many there've been.
Okay.
But did I want to be credited with victories that I hadn't earned? Absolutely not.
Kelly's not buying it.
I don't care what he's buying because let me tell you, what you need to care about is what I'm buying. I'm the one that's hot.
Which direction are we going first?
I'm the one that went Miami. It was a damn good pick.
I didn't say it wasn't a good pick. I told you yesterday it was a good pick. I just didn't think they would win, and they
shaking
won.
Your head like I was fooled.
Kelly, you notice how this goes. When he's losing, he has a certain speech he goes with, but when he's winning, it's hot, happy-go-lucky.
He's a gloater. There's no question. He's a gloater.
Okay, here's what and I learned it from you.
We need to bring Watson back for one of these segments. He was the best.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the hockey. Most of you already know I will continue to go with Carolina at home until it doesn't work. This bothers Kelly. I could care less. This is about getting it right.
Let's go Panthers.
Yes. No, that's not the Carolina Panthers.
No, the Florida Panthers.
Yeah. Carolina at home is really tough. That's not the one that everybody wants to talk about. Here's where the other one is going. Don't put it up yet. The world has come to this, the Lakers figured it out. Denver's dead because the Lakers figured it out. Well, let's do a Lee Corso. Not so fast. Okay?
My friend.
Thank you. I'm taking Denver tonight. The world has now jumped on the Lakers because they got within 3. Who cares? Win.
They got on they got it to 3 because they started making shots.
Yes, they did. So, why do I think Denver? Because I think instead of being able to gloat over a victory the way I did last night about Miami, I think Denver went to the locker room, even though they'd gotten a win, feeling like it was part defeat, that at the end, they didn't feel like the better team. And my guess is that allowed their coaching staff over the last 36 hours to get some new messages across, some new strategies. Here's what we're going to do, because at the end, it didn't feel like a win. I think Denver's going to come out tonight and show you just how good they are. Now, that said, the Lakers are going to win some games in LA. This is not going to be some 4-game sweep. But Denver's winning tonight. Not so fast, my friend.
George is going to be giving the pep talk in the Hurricanes locker room tonight, saying, "Do it for me."
He don't have to give a pep talk in the Hurricanes locker room.
Okay.
He needs to. I don't know. I don't know how the NBA is going to go. I mean, last night, I just don't know. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I think this is much-watched TV with these teams. Denver's really good. I don't think the Lakers figured out anything. I think they just started hitting shots at the right time, and then they came up short.
So let's put it this way. Would I be right you won't be with us tomorrow?
That would be correct, George.
That's good if I lose. If I'm wrong, I don't want to hear from you. If I win, trust me when I tell you, you will hear from me.
I might give you a text tonight after the game. We'll see.
You do that. Have a good weekend, Kelly.
Appreciate it, fellas. See y'all.
And you guys, have a good Thursday. What was that, Billy?
Behave yourself.
Yeah. We're out of here. See you tomorrow.